How's it going, guys? It's Radar here. We just got news of a new patch, so let's break it down. We got a couple new heroes, so before I begin, what makes a hero good? Well, generally speaking, heroes that are flexible, cheat gold in some way, and have strong early game are good heroes. If you look at something like Maiev or Archvillain Rafam or Lich King, these are guys that can either spend 1 gold and get 3 gold worth of value. They also buff things early. Lich King, he uses his hero power. He's pretty much guaranteed to win the early fights, and it has value. It doesn't force him into a certain kind of comp. Also good, so flexible, that kind of stuff. So keep in mind, flexible, cheats gold, good early game. Looking at that, Ragnaros the Fire Lord, this is something after you kill 20 enemy minions, you get Sulfuras. This is a passive ability. You don't have to spend gold on it. Sulfuras buffs your left and right minions +4/+4, so +8/+8 each turn. I think you get this around turn 5, and then turn 5 or turn 6, probably latest turn 7. And in those situations, I think you are at a point where getting +8/+8 each turn is very, very impactful, and the fact that it just continues kind of snowballs. So I think this is quite a good hero. I don't think it's like as good as, say, Jandis or something, but I expect this will be pretty good. Chinvala, on the other hand, is probably bad. It forces you into elementals. The thing that it doesn't actually directly affect your board. It doesn't win you the early game. It kind of just gives you like a bit of extra gold. It's just like the benefit isn't that great, and it actually does take a fair amount to play 3 elementals, even with things like Celemental and stuff, which we'll talk about later. So not that amazing. I just expect this to be bad. Rakanishu, give a friendly minion stats equal to your tavern tier. The way I see this working out is it's kind of like Yogg. You buy a minion, turn 2, you spend 4 gold. Turn 3, you either sell your minion and buy 2 minions, or you buy a minion and hope to buff the one you just bought. Or if you like the minion you already have, you buff that, spend 2 gold. It's okay. It's not amazing. You are buffing a minion that you probably are going to sell later on. But it also does help you a bit in the early game. It is a bit kind of flexible, but I think it's like a weaker flexibility. It's kind of the way when you look at some of the heroes that still kind of fit that bill, like, Akazamzarak, or however you pronounce it. George the Fallen, those are probably the 2 best ones. Basically anything where you buff something early on. Oh yeah, like Shutterwalk, that kind of stuff. You're buffing something early on. It's kind of okay, but maybe you don't want to buff it anyway. Maybe you'd rather just get something else. However, later on, it is like a random +5/+5 or +6/+6 for 2, which is still okay. So I think this is going to be like mid-high, or like firmly mid. Like, it'll still be something worth picking compared to like this shit. Alakir, this one I think is also like a very solid one. Why? It has good early game. We know that for a fact. It gives you Divine Shield, and Wind Fury is okay, but Divine Shield is the big thing. So it means you're probably going to win the first 3 fights, which is already pretty big. It scales well with certain things like Cleave, but most of the time it's just like give Divine Shield and Wind Fury to something is like good enough. Again, reminds me of Yogg. I think they're balancing a lot of stuff around that kind of philosophy of like, it's not good forever, but it's good enough to like push you into the later game, and then you can kind of get a direction. So I think this is pretty strong, and with something like a Cleave, it could be really strong. Also has some synergy with some of the minions in the future. So next we look at the actual cards themselves. Celemental is a 1 gold thing. You buy it. It's basically like a token. You get a 2/2 instead of a 2/1 and a 1/1, or like a 1/1 and a 1/1. And then when you sell it, you can actually get 1 gold back because you get the elemental. It also synergizes with some of the other stuff further down. I think this is good. Refreshing Anomaly. I think this reminds me a lot of the 2/2 Pirate. You buy it, you get gold basically for free that you can use to spend on a roll rather than a tier upgrade. I think that's more useful generally a lot of the time. It's also a 1/3, so 1/3 versus a 2/2, very similar stat line. A lot of times you're going to play against stuff, and like this is slightly better against like 2/1/1 Alley Cat stuff, but the same against the Murloc tokens, and slightly worse against a 2/3, but no, the same against a 2/3 as the 2/2. So they're very, very similar. Not a bad card early on. Party Elemental, very good. This is the kind of way, if you're trying to go elementals early on, or if you get this card, this helps push you into elementals, and it synergizes very well with Molten Rock. So you get a party elemental, and then you play Molten Rock, and that'll buff the Molten Rock +1 health and +1/+1. So that's kind of like your ideal curve, kind of in the way that we have the demon, the 3/3 demon plus the 2/3 buff a demon. Like that's a good combo. Stasis Elemental, and then this is just going to scale. Like, you might keep this minion the whole game. Stasis Elemental is okay. The fact that it's a random elemental, it makes me curious. If you could get something really high up the tier list, that would be nice. It's a 4/4, not bad for 3 gold at that point in the game. But it also could just be like you spend 3 gold, you get a random elemental in the tavern. You don't get it for free, and you're kind of like, eh. So it's not amazing. This one very much reminds me of Tier 3 Murloc that gives +1/+1. It's a 4/4. This is a 3/2. It's going to have some synergies with other stuff as well. I think if you're going elementals, you get this. You get it with Bran. It's just a typical buff card. Not too much to say. It's pretty good. Crackling Cyclone. This is a worse version of the Reborn Dragon. That's a 2/1. Yes, it has more attack, but it is not reborn. So that one basically has 6 attack because it attacks with the Divine Shield. Then is reborn. No, it has 8 attack. So it's quite a bit better. However, things with Divine Shield in this game are usually good. They can even create their own compositions. So this is still pretty good, and it scales well with buffs. Anything with Divine Shield and a tribe, so not the 1/1, is good. So this is good. Whirlwind Tempest, on the other hand, Wind Fury is just not that great. A lot of the time, unless you have like a fucking big Hydra and you're like Alakir and you want to just attack 4 times with the Hydra, most of the time this is not going to be amazing. It's just a 6/6 you play for an elemental, whatever. Wildfire Elemental. At first, this looks like a crappier version of a Cleave, but it's oftentimes going to be way worse than a Cleave. Think about it this way. You attack, and you only get the effect if you kill the minion, which by the time you have tier 4 minions, oftentimes when you kill a minion, like maybe it has 5 health, maybe it has 4 health, maybe it has 6 health, maybe it has more. So you attack it, and then you get to do like 2 damage to the other one. What if you're not even able to kill it? What if they've buffed up a taunt and you can't kill it? Like, that's important. Obviously, this does scale well. The more you give it, and of course if you triple it, it becomes closer to a Cleave, but it is still conditional, right? You have to kill a minion. If you hit this with a Divine Shield, no effect at all. So I think this is like not great. It doesn't make me want to play elementals, neither does this, but further down the road I can see reasons too. Deadly Spore, this is a tech card. It's pretty simple. If they have a minion with a ridiculous amount of health like a Battle Master, you take this. Major Dormo Executus, this is also okay. It's not an elemental itself. Kind of reminds you of an Edwin hero power. I think this is pretty good, situational, but a lot of the times you can kind of make this work. It kind of synergizes with this guy. If you have this right at the front, it's okay. Nomi Kitchen Nightmare, this is a tier 5 minion. After you play an elemental, elementals in Bob Tavern have a +1/+1 for the rest of the game. We've basically never seen anything like this. It is kind of interesting. You're spending gold to buff stuff for things you buy later rather than buffing your board immediately, which is actually quite a bit worse. You're also buying a 4/4 at the time you do it. So it's basically like, hey, I buy this, I'm going to invest in a bunch of stuff later, but soon it's going to snowball out of control, hopefully. Do you have enough time to do that, or do you take a bunch of damage? This kind of makes me think, like, wouldn't you rather just level? Wouldn't you rather get something else? But I could be very wrong. We've never really seen a minion quite like this. So Lil Rag, on the other hand, after you play an elemental, give a friendly minion stats equal to the elemental's tavern tier. This is the equivalent of a Mama Bear. This is the equivalent of a Bran or a Baron Rivendare, or anything that you get that you're like, okay, this is my comp now. The dragon that scales with every other dragon you have. You're going to play this, and you play a Elemental, you give something +1/+1. Randomly, you give another one +1/+1. You play something more expensive like a Wildfire Elemental, and you give something +4/+4. A lot of elementals have to do with chaining off stuff, so it's going to be a way to scale. You're going to get quite a bit stronger. You can scale this thing as well. So I think this is just like, this is your build around unit. Tavern Tempest, another random elemental to your hand. It seems pretty bad for a what's it called, 5 cost, but there is a bit of value, so it's kind of a 2 gold thing. You could get a higher tier elemental. It's going to work well with this kind of thing. It reminds me of the dragon that gives you something from your opponent's board, but that dragon is a bit better. But this can kind of be a bit better depending on the situation. Lieutenant Gar, after you play an elemental, gain +1 health for each elemental you have. Seems really strong. On a full board of elementals, you could easily get like 20 health in a single turn while also buffing it with other buffs. Another like pretty standard good 6-drop. This is the kind of thing that can like really quickly make you win a game. On the flip side, like, this just seems bad. Gentle Genie, you get a random elemental and you add a copy of your hand. Feels way not impactful enough for a tier 6 minion. It's just like basic value of random elementals, and you have to play it and have it die. So you have to play a 6/8 when you're at tier 6. Just seems terrible. This is not something that you want. So yeah, it's like if you're gonna build an elemental board, it's gonna look like something like Lieutenant Gar late game, a little rag as your kind of build around unit, stuff like the Arcane Assistant with Bran, stuff like Molten Rock and Party Elemental. That's how I see that working. Otherwise, I don't think you want to do elementals. So in terms of Battlegrounds ratings, this is really interesting. I haven't been playing as much, but they're going to reset everyone's rank, although I don't think they're resetting MMR, and they're introducing a new system similar to those who are familiar with constructed mode. So I hope there's going to be diamond and all that stuff like bronze, silver, gold, etc. I like that you can get more per win. They cannot lose rating until they've climbed to 2,000. That's also good. I don't really know exactly. Is 6,500 rating their kind of legend or something? I don't know. But I'm interested to try it out. Like I said before, I haven't been playing as much Battlegrounds. I kind of play it casually, so my rank just drop a lot. I like to do it while cooking or something. So yeah. As for card balance, really quickly, Turtle Mage is dead. This kills Turtle Mage. You no longer can discover spells infinitely. You actually cast them. Guardian Animals nerfed. I think this will be quite significant. Slowing it down by a turn. Like, this is the kind of thing where, remember when we nerfed Spiteful Summoner from 6 to 7, all of a sudden it went from being like a fucking strong deck to a not so great deck. Same kind of thing. So, yep, that's pretty much it. Then we get some stuff with Dual Class Arena, Tavern Brawls, that kind of thing. I think the most significant stuff is the Battlegrounds changes. I'm super excited to see how they play out. And I'm pretty sure that they are coming tomorrow. So I will be streaming a lot of Battlegrounds tomorrow at my Twitch, which is twitch.tv/RadarSSBM. I'll put that on screen. Thank you for watching the video. I'll see you guys tomorrow on my stream. Bye for now.